Hey everybody, Tim here with this week's graphic novel review, Volume 8, Transformers, the last of Phase 1. I don't know, it's really sad. I'm going to kind of do this a little bit out of order. I'm going to break my tradition, only because out of the first 8 volumes that I've been doing reviews for, I'm really excited for this one. Over the years, Transformers has had a lot of great artists, a lot of great writers, and I mean, they completely rejuvenated Transformers, the way we think of it. So don't worry, I'm going to kind of do this the same way as always, but I'm going to kind of flip it a little bit. This book, 386 pages, came out in 2013, this specific edition. I'm going to just jump to the end real quick, because this is the first volume that we're finally introduced to one of my favorite artists, Livio Ramodelli. So I'm super excited. I've had the pleasure of meeting, I mean, you can actually see the autograph on there. Boop. I had the privilege of meeting him a few years ago up in Seattle. And it was fantastic. As you can see, I have a lot of art behind me because I try to go to conventions when I can. And then off to my right, I have a Transformers wall. And a lot of Ramodelli's art is on the wall. I got a custom Starscream, because Starscream's my favorite. And character done up by him, color and everything, because eventually one of these days I'll make enough money to get the tattoo of it. So I'm super excited. I'm going to kind of jump even further ahead. I had mentioned how when I worked at a comic book shop, I was very hesitant about Transformers. At this point, it was well into Phase 2, because this was only a few years ago. And my friend's like, no, you gotta give this a try. Because I was a fan of all the cartoons and everything. He's like, just give it a try. And so he started me off with a copy of All Hail Megatron. And I read it, and I fell in love. I was like, this is amazing. I was like, okay, I'm gonna go back and start with number 1. And he's like, no, it's not perfect. I mean, nothing is perfect. It's there's some hit and misses. Even this collection has some real hit and misses. But he's like, you gotta really look at the good, and then when you start and you hit those bad parts, I don't want you to just give up. And so after he gave me All Hail Megatron, which he considered the best, the second book he gave me was Autocracy by Ramodelli. And that I was so in love with it. I think it's going to actually be in the next collection. So like I said, I'm jumping a little bit ahead of where I'm at, but that's how excited I am. I'm just take a drink. I'm so excited. Ugh, drunk nerd reviews. Here we go. Okay. So absolutely love his art. Fantastic guy. Who knows? Maybe one day I'll actually be able to do an interview with him. But with everything going on, who knows? Again, I'm going to kind of jump straight into the end just to show you a bit. This is my favorite one-page art for him. Is just look at how beautiful Megatron is. It's gorgeous. He's so well done. From right here, I mostly have Starscream because that's all I do is collect Starscream stuff. Still, I'm just going to gush over him the entire time. But anyways, if for no other reason, that's the reason to start. So, okay, for the actual book, I got all of that fanboying out of the way. This novel actually takes the issues for Heart of Darkness 1 through 4 and the final part of Transformers 19 through 31. So it's a pretty big chunk. I'm not gonna lie, it is a little bit hit and miss for me. Heart of Darkness I hated. I wanted to like it, but I mean, hate's a strong word. I wanted to like it, but it was too much. I could not get into it just from the first issue with Galvatron and Gorlin Prime, and I was like, okay, I seriously, if IDW needs somebody to make a dictionary, I'll do it, because I'm already, I'm reading all of these once a week. I'm already forgetting who all these people are. And I was kind of surprised that reading the first issue, I was kind of surprised that there was no reference to Infestation. And I was like, that's kind of odd. Sure enough, once we get to issue 4, that's where we get our reference. I was like, Infestation was such a rough two-parter that I don't even know why they claimed it, but whatever. We get to see Jyaxis back. We get to see RC and Hardhead's return. So stuff like that's great. Realistically, I think it was the third issue that was actually my favorite, where we see all the crab pirates, and there's some sort of hidden Cybertonian in their ship. I don't know. For me, being the weird person I am, I could have read a whole book just about those little crab pirates. the second issue, I think it was, where Galvatron's like slowly going crazy. All I got was these, like, because you see like just different clips behind him, which is great for like being in a comic book, but I just got like Event Horizon memes of like Sam Neill just going batshit crazy, and I was like, oh, okay, whatever. And then the big twist with Nemesis Prime still being alive, and I was like, oh, what a shock. So already, like, as much as I hate to say it, like, you can kind of feel that we're coming to the end of the storyline. So, like I said, for Volume 8 for Transformers, I feel like they felt like they were shoehorned in some stories, because to go through 31 issues is no small feat. I mean, you look at stuff like Batman and Action Comics and stuff like that, and that have been around for decades, and you're like, they have new stories every week. What are you talking about? With Transformers has been very hit and miss, like especially over the years, and they wanted to play it very close. And it worked for quite a while. I mean, that's how we got like those first three, that first trilogy of small mini stories, and it worked beautifully. That's why, honestly, I feel like I'm super excited to go into the next volume, Volume 2, because that's where it really becomes its own. Like, they're like, you know what? There's no war. There's no planet Earth. There's nothing. It's just going to be us. So I'm more excited for that. So to go into episodes, you can tell how many TV reviews I do. To do issues 19 through 31, like to see Hot Rod survive, and which, I don't know, as soon as he got shot by Megatron, I was like, I think I even said it in the review, I was like, he's not gonna die. Like, nobody dies in these comics. It's very, very odd. Like, I don't know if they thought it was too extreme or what, but everybody ends up just coming back. So, like, Hot Rod surviving, but the Matrix is stuck into his chest, and it's like, okay. And they bring up the Jangle Man, which I loved that name. I didn't get it at first, but I love the name. And then they want to use the Matrix to power up a ship. And then the Jangle Man comes to the rescue, and it's Wheelie! Batshit crazy Wheelie, which, one of my favorite. Like, I actually have a list. I wouldn't say I've necessarily written my own comic, because I went to school for comic book writing. So I wouldn't say I've written a full comic, but I've kind of done, like, treatments of, like, these are my top 5 favorite characters. Who is going to be in them? And Wheelie is one of them. So I can't even imagine what it takes to write Wheelie to do him well, because of all of the rhyme schemes and stuff. But Wheelie makes it work, and they take the ship off, go into Cybertron, which as soon as you see Cybertron, you're like, this is not going to end well. Because Cybertron's always been weird for these first 8 volumes. Because, like, we know that there was a war, and then everybody had to leave, but, like, it never really says why the planet became inhospitable. Something about the atmosphere, but now the atmosphere has repaired itself, and now it's okay to come back. Like, Cybertron's always been like this weird mystery that you kind of have to read in between the lines to kind of figure it out. But we do see Ironhide, we see Sunstreaker, we see Bob, who's probably one of my favorite characters, the little swarm. He's like a pet. And then Galvatron, who has brought his army to Cybertron. So it's fantastic. The whole team says, fuck it, we're out, we're going back home. And that's where you can kind of tell, like, we're coming up to the end of this, because Bumblebee stays back to watch Spike. And at that point, I'm like, who cares? Like, I'm kind of done. I'm kind of over it. So we get that. Oh god, what do we got? Once we get to the pre-war comics, I was like, it's interesting, but it realistically, not to get out of spoilers, it's a lot of setup for Phase 2. So I think at that point, they had already mapped out a little bit of Phase 2, because Rung shows up, and the Knights of Cybertron are mentioned quite a bit. So those two key factors, you're like, what is this? And then once we get into Phase 2, you really see that, like, grab a hold. So I really like that. The scene with Optimus and Megatron just sitting back, like, do you remember when you did this? Do you remember when you did that? You broke my arm. You cut me in half. I was stuck in gun mode for 2 years. Like, just going back and forth shooting the shit. It was fantastic. Like, I loved every moment of it. And you could see it. I mean, they've been fighting, I think, for 4 million years or something. And it really kind of worked for me. Some of those pre-war scenes, we get stuff like Optimus being like I think he was a captain in the police force, and he's the one who sets Megatron free. We get Blaster as a reporter. He's Orion Pax, because this is pre-war, and him just addressing the Senate is really good. But then when they're like, I had you repaired, but left a spot open in your chest, stop. Like, that one was too much. It was too much pandering for me. I think it was Jazz. Jazz is still in trouble for shooting a human, which this whole thing, I feel like it was just glossed over. Like, I wanted more of that. Sandra comes back. Who gives a fuck? Her whole storyline of just being a traitor is so bad for me. And Spike confessing the whole thing. Once Swindle is revealed to be like behind the whole thing, not a surprise. I don't know, the whole like Simpson character and everything has just dragged on for so long that, like, I think this series could have just kept going. It didn't necessarily need phase 2. If they would have just ended it and kept going. Like, you get like a dozen issues, maybe 2 dozen, and you're done. Like, this one almost went on for 3 years. So it was too drawn out for me. Let's see. Sunstreaker just being all butthurt because nobody wants to talk to him. Well, guess what? You're a traitor. You brought it on yourself. Whatever. You got Bob now. As somebody who has 9 animals, you'll be fine with Bob. Don't worry. Seeing characters like Drift and Wheelie, like, was great, but it was a little muddled. Like, it was hard to keep track of everybody. Chrome Dome is brought up again. Little reference to phase 2 coming up. Lost it already. I love Devastator in this, where Scrapper's dead, but they still used his body, so Devastator's leg just doesn't work. That I thought was great. I thought it was really, really interesting. And then we're right to the end. Like, Prime opens the Matrix, it's over, it defeats Devoid. Stupid name for a character, I'm sorry, but it is. And then that's it. It goes to Remembrance Day, where Optimus is alive somewhere, and Megatron's alive somewhere, but realistically, the only 2 people on Cybertron who remember are Alpha Trion and Ironhide, and that's it. And it's cute, because they're talking about Wheelie and Grimlock. Who knows what happened to Grimlock after the Wreckers miniseries, but it was a really kind of interesting ending, but it was a little, like, it felt a little rushed. Like, I wanted more battle sequences. I wanted to see exactly what happened, but it was like, nope, it's done. And then we're instantly going to go into phase 2. So, absolutely love it. For me, the artwork is really what saves it. And, I mean, again, not to fanboy, but some of the earlier artwork was a little rough for me. Like, I don't know, especially like the scene where Spike confesses, like, just Spike, the way he looks it was very 90s remnant, I guess is the best way to say that. But then once we get to Romadelli, like, it just kind of saves everything. So, I mean, like, this is, like, there's, like, Spike. Just, like, it's just shadowy. It's a little rough for me. So, probably because I was so focused on the way we get to the end, and it was so juxtaposed. So, I'm curious what you guys think. This is it. We're done with phase 1. I loved it. Even the rough parts are still better than some comics I've read. So I always cannot stress enough how it seems like very few people have even tried to read this. And I mean, phase 2 is done. They're technically on phase 3 at this point. So, which I haven't actually started. So that's kind of why I'm doing this reread. And to talk to you guys, because I love talking to people about Transformers. So, for those who have seen it, what did you guys think? Please go ahead, let me know. What did you think about the entire series, going all the way back to the beginning, which I think the first story in Volume 1 for this was Megatron Origin. So, what did you think going from the very beginning to the very end of this? Let me know. What did you think about this book specifically, about this final, like, the final countdown? The final, like, wrap up for the story for Spike, which I don't know, Spike's story was the worst for me. And then the big battle with Devoid. What did you think? Go ahead, let me know, and I will see you guys next time for Volume 1 of Phase 2.